So over the course of this channel's lifespan, which is about 7 or 8 years, I've made plenty of videos about that VR is dying or something along those lines. I've never said VR is dying or VR is dead, but I have worried about the platform many times. And recently, I don't know if you saw that Mike from the VR Oasis announced his Ready or Not VR mod the other day. It looks absolutely spectacular. But he announced our company, XR Game Labs. And through that company, I do marketing. And basically, I'll work with content creators to find good games. So I test the games to make sure I don't waste developers' budget, because if the game is bad, I don't take their money for the marketing. I'll say, use that money, improve your game, maybe come back to us. But in those discussions is me basically talking to developers quite a lot. I've been playing VR games since 2016. I've reviewed multiple games. I go to the studios. So I know a lot of what goes on in the background. Now, where VR is at the moment isn't dead, and it's actually not dying, but it kind of looks like it from my perspective, I would say that VR is having one of the worst years in its history for my audience, my age demographic, and kind of me, you know, like apart from, I mean, this year actually has been pretty good. Unfortunately, VR games aren't the sort of games that you keep going back to, you know, like Forefront at the moment is probably the game that I'm looking forward to the most. And even though some people are like, oh, the graphics aren't very good, for me personally, I absolutely love it. I'm immersed. I haven't got my phone distracting me. I'm just in this bloody game and I'm having a great time. Everyone's communicating. I think it's awesome. I think it's got lots of potential. And this is why Forefront actually is doing quite well, is because it's borderline between the younger audience and the older audience. So let's rewind back to us as kids, right? Kids play computer games. Adults bought kids computer games. That was how it works. Adults didn't really play games. You know, they might have dabbled. They might have bought a computer and then the kid ended up using it anyway. Or their parents just didn't have time for gaming, and it was their kids that did it. And you are those kids. We are those kids, right? So 70s, 80s, 90s. You're probably one of those eras if you're on this channel, maybe 2000s. My main gaming time was the 90s going into the 2000s. I love the 80s, but that was predominantly when I started buying my consoles and really getting into the arcades and stuff. Then life happens. For some people, it's further education. For some people, it's I literally need to go and get a job because my mum and dad have kicked me out. For some people, they have kids early. For some people, they're just so career-minded, you know? They don't want to play stupid games. They might dabble in Gears of War or Call of Duty or something like that along the way, GTA. But predominantly, they're not gaming anymore. So VR in 2016, 2017 was the thing that dragged me back in. I was like, this is the future. I've never seen anything like this. I only dreamt gaming was going to go this way. That's what it felt like playing PSVR for the first time. I literally thought this is going to be the biggest thing to ever happen, the biggest explosion in the entertainment gaming industry, right? And in my little bubble, that wasn't the case at all. Everyone I spoke to after PSVR was released and we were playing Resident Evil 7, God knows how many games, Wipeout, whatever games were there were so many good games. Everyone I spoke to wasn't buying PSVR, and I'm thinking surely most of my friends at that time, so you've got to that stage where you're in your 30s and your evenings are now back to gaming. It's cheaper to stay in and play a video game with your friends versus going to the pub or whatever. So like that was my generation, you know. This is my lifetime where I'm not really going out as much. I'm going out maybe on a Friday once a month, you know. It could have been a work thing, but most of the time I was indoors playing Gears of War, Call of Duty, things like that. When I got into PSVR, I kind of thought everyone was going to follow me. Like, everyone's going to find this amazing. So I kept bringing people around my house and they buy it, but they don't really get into it. Something doesn't happen. Some magic doesn't click. I don't know what it is. I don't know how to make it happen for some people. Obviously, we've got VR motion sickness that we are still dealing with today. But my point is, when it comes to adults and gaming, we were kind of spoiled with VR in 2017 and 2018 and 2019 because people were throwing money at this thing, and we had companies like Bethesda bringing out like Fallout 4, Skyrim. But the point is, the money didn't come back. So we were in the experimental phase where people were throwing money at VR and didn't know what would stick. They didn't know what they'd get out of it. And that was a great time to be in. That was a great thing to witness. You know, I've played some incredible games. I still do. But back then it was like you get the IPs. Even The Last Guardian, it was a demo, but I absolutely loved it personally, just to be in that world again. We then got mobile VR, right? We got the Quest. And I don't think anyone could argue that, and still shouldn't, that standalone is the future of virtual reality. Standalone VR, basically no wires, whatever GPU it's going to have in the future, however powerful it's going to be, standalone is going to be the way forward. But unfortunately, that meant graphics took a big hit. And I've said this many times, is that right now, we're living through the era where the adults who wanted the high-tech, high-quality graphical games are a lot less in comparison to the kids who picked up Quest 2 and Quest 3S and are playing lots of VR. That's the difference. I've seen channels literally quit making videos like I did yesterday. I made a video, Frost Survival or Frost Survivor. No one cares. And that's fine. I did it for myself. I keep the U in YouTube. I wanted to explore that game. And it was actually pretty cool. It's got like an insanity meter and you kind of lose your mind. It was pretty cool. Apart from the end, the game completely broke. But anyway, my point is VR is doing great. It's just not doing great for me. It's not doing great for my audience. This channel at the moment is surviving. It's doing okay. I'm not here to ask for patrons and channel members, but I do need to at some point. It's going to happen, but I don't want to. You need to look at Gamertag to see where VR is, and there's other games like Animal Company and stuff. But let's look at Gamertag. That game once had 100,000 concurrent users. That's 100,000 people online at once. And they also had a record of 1 million users in a 24-hour period. That's crazy. And it was in 2023 and 2024. And if you look now, it's about 20,000, 10,000 on a weekday, let alone on the weekends. And there's many more games, Animal Company, games like that. They're like competition for Gamertag. And the other side of it as a content creator, there's content creators now fully going into that market. They're there to basically entertain these kids and give them the VR they want. You know, there is an audience there and they've found the people who actually use VR and spend the most amount of time in VR are kids. They are the main consumers now. What I worry about, and I'm really hoping Steam Frame changes this because it really could. There's two good things to come out of this, and I know it's a bit of a waffle. These kids are going to grow up. I've said this multiple times. These kids are going to grow up, and like we did, and they're going to want VR, dude. They're going to want some good games. They're going to want games like Forefront. They're going to want games a bit like Reach, really. I mean, Reach is like a Tomb Raider style game, and I see people like moaning about it, saying it's not doing well, it's not selling well. You can go by the achievements and work out how many people have played it. The point is, that game is currently aimed at an adult audience, right? And it released broken. And adults aren't stupid. They're not going to go and spend money on a game that potentially doesn't work. And they're busy. They've got things to do. They might have a backlog of games. Why are they going to go and throw £32 up the wall and wait for updates? They're going to wait to hear from the developer or someone like me or another channel, is this game fixed now? All right, I might consider buying it. But 9 times out of 10, they wait for a sale. So Reach didn't come out the gate as good as it should have. And even if it did, it's a very unique game. It's not the game I think most people thought. If you looked at all the trailers, it's all action. And then even to me, I wasn't 100% sure what sort of game it was going to be because I'd never played it before. And it was a puzzle game. Overall, it was a puzzle game with action. So again, who is that game for? Yeah, that's what you need to look at. Then you've got Thief, a franchise that I don't even know if the new generation are aware of it. I said it to my son the other day. I said, oh, Thief VR's coming out. What's Thief? He's 22 years old. He's never heard of the franchise. And that makes sense because I think the last game in that franchise was 25 years ago, or at least the good Thief game was 25 years ago. So he's not going to know. And potentially, unless that game comes out the gate, and it's an incredible game. That's the only way it comes out, gets a full 9 out of 10, 8 out of 10. People like me, I don't give scores, but I say whether you should buy it or not, say, yeah, buy it. That game's gonna die again because the majority of VR audiences are kids and they're playing free-to-play games or they're playing cheap games. If you look at gaming at the moment across the board, it's not in a great place regardless. It really isn't. And indie games at the moment are doing absolutely fantastic. Me, myself, I'm playing games like Ball X Pit. It came out the other day. It was like, I don't know, £11. I'm loving it. It's just a great game to chill and play in my downtime. Mega Bonk was another game that I've sunk about, I don't know, 18 hours into. But my point is, VR is not dead. It's not dying. In fact, it's actually doing really well. If you're a content creator like me, who has made those videos in the past saying VR is not doing well, it's a very, how can I put this? It's a very unique position to be in. Obviously, I get games early. I play the hell out of them to review them, and then I move on. I'm in the position of not buying my games right? Majority of the time, I don't buy my games. Second to that, I can play any game I want at any time. I'm now full-time into this. So, and I have to be, because like Reach took me 3 days to review on all the platforms. So I couldn't do that. I could only have give you first impressions, and that's all you ever see online. You know, that's all I ever see. Oh, Reach is a good game. How much have you played of it? 3 hours. As me, I'm like, this channel is all about trying to give you the best info about that game, and I couldn't do that with working 70 hours a week on the railway. I'm not going to give you my life story. I accidentally went full-time into this, but I don't regret it. I do enjoy it. You guys make it worth it. But my point is, these guys are going to grow up, and that's when VR is going to take off. Steam Frame might be the thing that brings adults back into VR again, and teenagers into VR again, and those guys are going to be looking around. But my point is, VR's doing fine. It's just not doing fine for the demographic of this channel and me. It's just not. 500,000 views a month, which sounds a lot, but it barely pays my bills. As before in Christmases past, I think this channel hit 3 million views in 28 days once. People were really into it. You know, they're really into VR. They're really into the gaming. And then they kind of think, oh, you know, it's summer, take the headset off, it's too hot, I can't really be bothered, this thing's uncomfortable, I don't want to buy accessories, games are expensive, I haven't really got time. Real life happens. So VR needs to be very special to make you want to put time into it. And at the moment, the games we're getting aren't that special. So, hold on. That's my point. It's just hold on. Try and enjoy what we have. There's a lot of good indie stuff out there. I'm hoping to do a bit more of it on the channel. It might not do very well, but these games are hopefully not that expensive as well. And there's some really good games out there. Like yesterday's game, again, was actually really good. The Insanity thing was cool. The building mechanics were very easy, especially compared to Green Hell. Green Hell's always pissed me off the way you build stuff. I'm not going anywhere. I know a number of other channels aren't going to go anywhere. And it might take 3-4 years for VR to come back around again. And I don't know if you're going to be here. You know, I'll probably still be here because I love it. I do. I'm really into this stuff. At the end of the day, I'm quite unique. You know, not only do I love VR, I spend my life is making content for VR, and not because it pays the bills. It's because I love doing it. For me, I'm all in. Like literally, all my chips are in on VR. I fully believe in the future of it, and I think everyone should be a bit more optimistic about it. And the amount of comments I see about backlog, every time I see a video about VR's dead, is loads of comments saying, dude, I haven't even got time to play the games I've bought already. It doesn't feel very dead to me. And that's kind of something you need to remember, you know, and that's kind of something that as content creators, we need to be reminded of. We are in a special position. We are not the sort of people who play it once or twice a week. We're playing it every day. So that's it. I think VR's doing fine. I do. I think VR's doing fine. I think next year's going to be great. Steam Frame's coming. I think it's going to be great. And that's my video.